I left a 20-year career in technology to bring its secrets straight to healthcare. You definitely want to stick around for this one. I had an amazing career in technology. I loved it, every second of it, right? Learning new technology, making a ton of money, selling high ticket items to everyone across the country. But you know what? I realized that technology was super selfish. It was all for me, and learn new technologies. But it was only when this happened to me that I changed my whole view. I had my first child. And as anyone knows, that just really is a life-changing incident for anybody. But when your child is first born and they get over into the NICU, that just, wow, shook my world. Here's my precious little daughter in the hospital. And it was only through the caring of doctors, healthcare professionals, nurses, MAs who went in and helped my daughter during this difficult time that she got better, that I realized that, you know what, I need to change from being selfish to selfless. And that's when I made the transformation to say, I need to take all these secrets and bring them to healthcare because it's so needed, especially for the professionals that work tirelessly, right? And ever since the pandemic, it's gotten worse. Burnout rates all-time high. So my goal here is to give you several secrets to think about so you can truly transform how you're going to deliver healthcare for the future. If you're ready to get these secrets to transform, go ahead and listen and pay closely attention because today I'm going to talk about 3 areas. First, using technology is simple, but not using it is hard. Second, the fastest way to use technology is to slow down and use people. And finally, how you start with technology is usually how you end up. So why am I covering all this? And who the heck am I to say this? Well, if you haven't been to this channel before, my name is Theo Harvey. I'm a serial entrepreneur who went from a lowly employee to a CEO who now runs a remote multi-million-dollar healthcare startup directly from his home. I've raised over $1 million from venture capitalists and investors. I've worked for large organizations like Cisco Systems, AT&T, the Charles Barkley Organization, and healthcare organizations like Blue Cross Blue Shield. My mission is really to help healthcare professionals prepare for the new normal in healthcare before it's too late. So let's get into today of what this all means for you. Well, to me, technology can be extremely simple, right? But not using it is the hard part. And the reason I say this is because the technology companies, right, they're tasked all the times with making simple solutions, right? This is something that is bred into us in the technology understanding. And this is obviously ethos that I think healthcare organizations really need to learn from this. Why you say this? Well, I think it's because it's something that's so non-essential that healthcare doesn't think about it. They're just trying to get someone well, but thinking about how to do it better, I think is so key. The advance of technology is based on making it fit so you don't really even notice it, right? That's what Bill Gates said. And the reason why he said this is because they realized the only way to get high adoption rates and usage rates is make it simple for people to utilize. They said 55% of used adults are regularly interacting with artificial intelligence. They said 25% are using it multiple times daily and 28% multiple times weekly. So you can see the adoption rates are increasing for something like artificial intelligence, which just really exploded in our world in the last 3 years, right? With the introduction of ChatGPT. So it goes to show you that because it's a simple interface that you're using, more and more people want to use it, right? And this is something that is making it so simple because if you get left behind, guess all the people who's not getting caught up on artificial intelligence, where they're going to be with their careers. There's so much anxiety right now of AI. Is it going to take your job or not? And yes, absolutely, it will take your job unless you learn how to work with it and utilize it in your workflows and make it more efficient, especially in healthcare. When I was a younger kid, right, I don't know why I did this, but maybe I was just being super, ambitious at the time. But I wanted to just get ahead in math. And I said, you know what? I'm going to learn algebra over the summer. Now, if anyone's ever taken math, algebra is such a foundational skill to learn before you head on to higher level maths like trigonometry, geometry, calculus, right? Algebra is usually taught for a whole school year, 9 months. Well, I'm trying to cramp it into maybe 2.5 months, maybe 50 weeks total, 60 weeks if I'm lucky, of understanding everything that has to do with algebra. So I'm taking this algebra course over the course of a summer, mind you, where I'm going on vacation with family. And this had to be when I was in middle school. So I'm struggling, trying to figure it out, but I'm getting the grasp of it. That put me back because I didn't take the time to learn deeply enough about how algebra works. So when I got to those advanced maths, I was always a gap. I had to go back and reread my algebra, right? So it's usually sometimes easier and cheaper to learn something new the first time well, instead of waiting and having to go back. So let me say that again. It's usually cheaper and easier to learn something new now than instead of waiting and having to go back to get it. That's an advice that you should take all the time. And I think this is something that what's happening with technology. If there's something new in technology, you have to kind of take time and understand it, especially if it can be impactful to the future of your business and the future to your current workflows. So I would say this, actually, I don't like to leave you without any simple action plans. One simple thing you can do, just learn one piece of technology that's going to completely transform your workflow, and then go ahead and learn it. Take the time to learn it. Spend an hour a day understanding, whether it's ChatGPT or the new EMR system that you got, that patient engagement software, those ambient sounds, AI solutions that are out there. Be the expert in your organization about that technology. Embrace it. Because guess what? It's going to be more expensive if you wait. Next, let's talk a little bit about the fastest way to use technology is to slow down and use people. In the technology world, it is okay to ask questions, right? It's okay to be curious, to understand, to get people to come in and explain a piece of technology to you, right? Healthcare is definitely collaborative, especially in research centers, but when it comes to the day-to-day healthcare organizations, seeing the patient so bombarded with so many different tasks, so many different hats people are wearing, it can be hard to take a moment to ask for help, especially when you're learning some new technologies and things of that nature, especially when the vendors charge you sometimes for that extra help. Technology is nothing. What's important is that you have faith in people. That was spoken to by Steve Jobs, who invented, this modern, hype cycle when it comes to technology with Apple. So if he says that, the data is proving that. A recent study by Benjamin Bloom found that students receiving individual mastery tutoring outperformed 98% of their peers. What does that mean? That means that having someone that was helping them master a topic, complex topic at that, allowed them to outperform just about all their peers. And that's so powerful to understand that. And I think technology companies really understand that. Healthcare companies, if they can embrace that, they can have more impact in what they're delivering out to the organizations. So I can remember a time where my son, he loved this video game, NBA 2K25, a basketball game that young kids play. And you know what? I wanted to play it again. I rarely play video games, but it was something about NBA 2K that just got me excited, especially on the PlayStation 5, for those who know about it, right? So I'm over here trying to figure it out and learn these moves, and I was struggling, guys. I was getting beat time and time again. So I had to humble myself and look like my 9-year-old son, who understood this technology better than I did, and say, hey, teach me some of the moves, right? The button combinations that would help me get that dunk or that reverse, pass, or the through my legs, dribbling move. And I did, and he showed me the moves, and I got better and better at it. And eventually I was able to play with other folks, and not be so intimidated when I face some of those really good players online. You know who you are. What does this mean? Think about this. Learning from others will accelerate your status. Let me say that again. Learning from others will accelerate your status. Take the time, no matter where the person you're getting this information from, help you with some new technology, because guess what can elevate your status in your career, your status in just your well-being and understanding of knowledge, your status in your pocketbook, because you have an incident of knowledge that can help you get to the next level where you're trying to go. And I would say this, one simple thing you can do is learn from people, is to really go do an online course or a webinar, a masterclass. In fact, I am offering a free masterclass on how to use technology to grow revenue for your medical practice. We do have these webinars from time to these master classes from time to time. Spaces are limited. So if you want to look at more information, just look at the link below. But whether you make a simple decision today that you're going to learn something and learn from someone else that's been ahead of the curve that can help you get there. Next, you want to kind of think about how you start is really how you end up. Speed is a necessary characteristic in technology. I mean, this is something that's baked into the cake, right? You've heard this quote from Mark Zuckerberg, move fast and break things. It's definitely the ethos of how we think about technology. Whereas in healthcare, evidence-based studies absolutely are so important, right? Because it takes time to understand in the data, especially with dealing with human lives, what that means. But I can tell you, patient communications can be way faster, right? communicating to patients, giving them well-being, because to us, to individuals, speed is just notates importance. Let me say that again. Speed is correlated with importance. That means they're aligned together. So the faster something goes, the more important you take it, right? Whether that's watching a race, the fastest person usually wins the race, right? And they're the fastest. The time it takes to get off a shot, in the last minute, speed is important in just about anything. And that shows importance. And because you're providing importance for that patient, then that's something that they value and they will feel it for your organization, and they would actually change their behavior in order to please you so that they can have a better health outcome. And that's proven time and time again. I think there's a statistic that says chronic procrastinators, 25% of all US adults population, are significantly more likely to experience anxiety, depression, poor sleep, and physical illness compared to non-procrastinators, right? And this is something that we see time and time again. It's best to act now. Let me tell you a story about pulmonologists I knew out of Middle Georgia. I can remember when we first starting our program to help practices grow revenue with some of these remote patient monitoring, chronic care programs. It was just early in the model before COVID, changed the whole industry. We reached out to him and he picked up the phone and he immediately says, yeah, stop by. So we stopped by and talked to him about the opportunity. Within the hour, he signed the contract and moved forward. He decided fast. Fast forward several years later when, these programs became all the rage and everybody from internal medicine to cardiology groups are all jumping on the bandwagon of how they can grow revenue with these new programs. But they ran into one issue in this area specifically because this pulmonologist took advantage at the time of these new models. He had all these patients, thousands of patients that he was already doing the work for and getting compensated for. Whereas the other practices couldn't do that. Unfortunately, in healthcare, when one provider is providing service, the other providers can't bill for that same service. So first mover advantage became his advantage. This is a lesson to be learned there, right? Those who do now won't have to pay later. Let me say that again. Those who do now won't have to pay later. If you act now, you will see dividends far and above anything you do before. And so I would say, don't hesitate. Sign up for that training course today. It can be my master class or it can be someone else's, but just don't let the momentum pass you by, because that would achieve the goals that you're seeking for in your organization, especially with learning new technology. And that's the secrets that all technologists understand, right? That speed, it does in fact help and grow and move faster with things. So if you kind of look at everything we talked about today, right, you can think of it in these three areas. First, you want to be using technology and understand it, that it's simple, but not using this hard. Take the time to understand the simplicity of how you can utilize it in your workflows and you'll be more successful. Also, the fastest way to use technology is to slow down and use people. Find mentors, people to help you accelerate your learning so that you can get it and move faster throughout the process. And last but not least, start now. Don't hesitate. How you start is how you end up. If you start now, you will be ahead of the curve and above and beyond some of your peers that just started at a later date. It's just a fact, right? So look, I hope these lessons were great. You liked it. I hope you can understand these secrets, these bag of secrets I took from technology world, startup industry with these large companies and bringing it to healthcare. And I want to continue to do so. So if you like this video, please like, comment, let me know what tips you like from this video or what tips you want me to dive deep into. I'm thinking about doing more of artificial intelligence. But please check out our next video where we actually provide even more additional information that can really impact your healthcare organization.